Absolutely no amount of videos can do this place justice, which is probably why you've had video overload, but the views are something else. The views are absolutely spectacular. We are in the north of the country at the moment, and we are on our first trip in the van since we lost Leila. It was a week ago today that unfortunately we had to say goodbye to her, and it's a trip that we had already got booked and we didn't want to cancel and change our plans. Instead, we decided that we'd come out and embrace the adventures that we had with Leila. We had a lovely meal last night with Mike and Sam Phelps, and we are now on the first leg of what started as a mini road trip, but we've actually decided that we're gonna head into Snowdonia and we're actually gonna climb Snowdon. So we're doing that tomorrow, but for now a little stop off, a bit of a walk, and then hopefully some wildlife later. So we've just arrived on the North Wales coast. Where are we, babe?
We are in Llandudno.
We're in Llandudno, and we're just about to walk around the Great Orme. Never been here before, but it's dry. It's not too cold. Certainly doesn't feel like the middle of June, but there's no rain at the moment. So we're going to do, I think, what is a 4-mile circular around the Great Orme, which is, from what I can tell, labelled a country park and nature reserve. So let's see what nature we can find. Well, it's a good job we brought our own lunch, because the Rest and Be Thankful Cafe, right at the end of the Great Orme.
Looks like it's having a rest.
It does, it looks like it's having a rest. It looks like it's been having a rest for a very long time. So, little tip for anybody visiting the Great Orme: certainly don't expect to get any refreshments, bring your own. We decided that we weren't going to complete the circular. We're actually going to retrace our steps. So we got right to the very end, and we're just going to turn around and retrace our steps. And then we're going to make our way into Snowdonia and to our campsite for the first 3 nights, which is about an hour's drive. Nice little end to the trip. 3 juvenile peregrines up above the cliffs, doing a little bit of food pass. Certainly a lot of squawking and squabbling, so I'm assuming that it was food pass, or certainly they look relatively newly fledged. A bit of video footage, I'll pop it up now. So we have arrived at our campsite, and I have to be honest, the views are absolutely spectacular. No wind, dry, a few bits of blue sky, but absolutely stunning, stunning scenery. So I've just lit the fire, and now the chef is making chicken and mushroom pasta. So Tamara has befriended a family of chaffinches, and we're feeding them at a little feeding station at the back of our pitch. So we've been to Snowdonia before, but very, very briefly. And all I can say is, if anyone watching this has not been, come and explore it. The scenery is just mind-blowing. We've taken a walk this morning from the campsite. We haven't even got in the van. We've walked from the campsite. We're looking up at Snowdon. We're surrounded by mountains, walking alongside a lake. For nature lovers, it doesn't get much better than this. So we have almost completed the perimeter of the lake, which is just near our campsite. Bit of a mixture of open grazing land. We're now in a mixed leaf woodland actually, I think. But the views continue to be spectacular. We actually both put our lightweight walking shoes on today, which was probably not the best decision, because despite it being the middle of, let me just show you this. Despite it being the middle of June, it's definitely still very wet underfoot in Snowdonia. So we're just going to head back to the van, replenish our provisions. We've finished our first little walk of the day, nice little warm up, and then we're going to go out and explore in the opposite direction with some slightly more heavyweight footwear. So we're out for our afternoon walk, and we are going to check out something called the fairy pools. Now, there's a fairy pools on the Isle of Skye. It's clearly not those. There's also something called the fairy pools on the Watkins Pass up to Snowdon. So we're not going to walk up to Snowdon today. That's for a couple of days' time. But we're going to check out the fairy pools. As you can probably see, building up a bit of a sweat. T and I were just saying, it's an amazing time of the year to come and see anything, because we are the 18th of June and there is life everywhere. We've seen juvenile robins being fed, we've seen juvenile redstarts being fed, we've seen siskins, we've seen redpoll, we've seen tree creepers. Life is abundant, and Snowdonia is a special, special place. So we are sitting here after a spectacular day in Snowdonia. One message to anybody out there: never play my wife at cards. I've just been absolutely schooled.
Wales' oldest nature reserve. No, this one's only could do that one. They come back and do that one.
Yeah, it's a little rubber in between. This scenery is just like nothing you've ever seen. Tell me that view is not just mind-blowing. We're about halfway around. We've had 3 fly-throughs from hawks coming around the Mac Loop, and the scenery just gets better and better and better. Absolutely no amount of videos can do this place justice, which is probably why you've had video overload, but the views are something else. As you can see behind me, Snowdonia, you are spectacular. So this is called Cwm Idwell. Apologies for my Welsh pronunciation if that's not quite right, but you can either walk the perimeter of the lake, or you can do what we've done, which is to take one of the high passes. We actually bumped into a local chap that actually now lives up on Anglesey, but came here fishing as a boy with his dad. And he said to us, for the best views, you can take a higher path, which actually is slightly harder work. And we've certainly just had to pick our way down, and the impact on the knees, there's some fairly sizable drops. So anybody with less than ideal mobility, I would suggest just perhaps walking around the perimeter of the lake. But if you can go on the higher pass, then the views are incredible. And I think it's a Youth Hostel Association car park that we parked in, which was about £3 for 4 hours. But I think there's also multiple National Trust car parks down the length of the lake, and there's about 3 different routes that you can do from here. So it's one that we will definitely be pinning on the map and doing again. And I'll put the details of where we are and the map coordinates in the description below, so that you can come here yourself and explore it for yourself if you're ever in Snowdonia. So tomorrow is the day when we climb to the summit of Snowdon. I'm feeling good about it. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Obviously don't want to underestimate what it's like to climb the second highest mountain in the UK. But we've done a couple of hikes in the last couple of days which have certainly been challenging, so hopefully tomorrow will be enjoyable and we'll be able to actually take in the scenery. We're going to go up the pig track and then down the miners, which I think is some of the most picturesque, albeit I think there's some challenging areas, but we're looking forward to taking you along with us for the journey. So this is the last kind of steep climb. We said we were going to do it for Leila, and do it for Leila we did.